But I think that this is a fact and this is a fair that Russian people has to feel that the war not only somewhere overseas, but this is the war between Russia and Ukraine. And this is Russia who started this war. And that's why the people in Russia have to feel it. And that's why I put this question about a lack of right for Ukraine to use this weapon to strike to Russia.
I have no problem. I mean, I would absolutely support more strikes on Russia. I think that Ukraine should be striking Moscow as often as they have the chance. It'd be great if more cities in Russia were hit daily. Actually, I would think that would be one of the best things Ukraine can do for its national security is to attack more Russian military installations, energy installations, and other things that are necessary for the national infrastructure. Because the fact is, Russia does have to feel the pain. Russia does have to realize that this is not a faraway war. This is not something that's happening in the distant lands, but this is something in their neighboring country. And there's real repercussions for them. It's not just sanctions. It's not just that it's more expensive to buy things. No, they have to realize that there's now a direct threat to them. And I think that at some point that could destabilize the Putin regime. Once again, my great hope is actually, in fact, that something like regular drone strikes on facilities in Russia, for instance, the attacks on Moscow, when they were happening at Moscow City, that was something that we saw shocked a lot of people there. There's a lot of the upper class. There's a lot of people involved in investments. There's a lot of people involved in insurance.
Yeah, it's better than nothing. Yeah, it's better than...
We just need to do more and more, though. And it has to be constant. Because once you have the people living in the most elite part of the country living in fear or trying to leave the country, you can start to affect things. But it has to be routine all the time. Once or twice isn't going to be enough to change what they think or how they feel. You have to make them fear.
Yeah. Talking about the intention of Putin to sit at the table and talk about some peace. Okay, so there is an opinion that Putin will not go to any peace deal before the election in the United States because he will wait for Mr. Trump will win the next election. What do you think of it?
Well, one, I think it's improbable that Trump will eventually come back to the White House. It is possible. The polling numbers would show that. But given the number of legal processes he has currently against him, I think it's going to be very hard for him to do. But it is quite possible. I mean, it could certainly happen. But it is more unlikely than it is likely. That being said, I think that, yes, most everybody has heard the same rumors, that Donald Trump would probably be the one that Putin would want to win the next elections. Because Trump is capable of sort of just overturning the norms and doing whatever he thinks is going to suit his immediate interest the best. In addition to the fact that he does seem to have a strong personal interest, or infatuation even, with Vladimir Putin. So I think that he would have a desire to wrap up this war as quickly as possible, and it would probably be very unfavorable to Ukraine's interest.
What do you think? Who can be the moderator between Russia and Ukraine if, for example, let's fantasize, and if the negotiation peace deal between Russia and Ukraine tomorrow, who could be the moderator? Which country, which state?
Ultimately, if there's going to be some sort of talks between Russia and Ukraine, it would be a country probably more along the lines of Turkey or China. It would certainly not be a European country or the United States, which Putin views so negatively. It'd have to be a country that he at least respects. That would be one of the greatest determinants. And a country that's viewed to be an honest broker in this. So there's very few options. But Turkey is a country. Erdogan is somebody who, as we know, Putin does admire quite a bit. That's quite clear. It's one of his favorite world leaders from his style, the way he behaves, and everything else. And in the case of China, let's be honest, is also the most important partner of Russia. It is the older brother now in this relationship between the two of them.
What about the United States?
Absolutely not. I think Putin would absolutely never accept an offer from the United States.
Really? Okay. Let's fantasize a bit. If we now conclude some kind of peace deal with Russia, then with a high degree of probability, it will be a truce which Putin will use to strengthen his military power. Is it clear enough for the world?
I don't think everybody recognizes how Russia operates. I think they think that it's like most normal countries where the government worries about its own citizens or worries about how to improve their country, and Russia doesn't. Vladimir Putin obviously has no interest in what happens to his people, how they live, their quality of life. He steals from them. He is by far the richest person in the world, I would bet, as are the other people in his government. I mean, his ministers are some of the richest people in the world because they endlessly steal from the Russian people. And unfortunately, he does use them sort of like livestock. He has no problem dispensing them to Ukraine to die as cannon fodder. So ultimately, what would happen? Yes, Putin would undoubtedly just use the time, if there was peace talks, to then rebuild his military and prepare for new attacks against Ukraine. I see no reason to believe that his intention to destroy Ukraine has changed. I have no reason to believe that his military is not ready to continue attacking Ukraine. So if there's peace talks, I think they would just go back to what they were 3 years ago, preparing for this current war, and start preparing, start rebuilding, and to just get ready for the day where a new invasion would begin.
There is another topic which I'd like to discuss with you. Don't you think that peace can only be achieved, if we are talking about a peace topic, yeah? Don't you think that the peace can only be achieved in a package with Ukraine's admission to NATO or some other severe Western guarantees? No one understands what guarantee there can be. Yeah, there may be, and no one is ready to accept Ukraine into NATO here and now. At the same time, it is already known that military expenditures have already been declared in the Russian budget, and they are twice as high as Ukrainian ones. And for me, it looks like vicious circle, you know?
Well, Russia is about to invest about 30% of their budget into the military. It's more than it was during the Soviet Union. It's a significant investment. And Russia will continue to do that because, like all these other dictatorships, same as North Korea, the people of North Korea live in hunger, yet the military keeps developing ballistic missiles. The reason for that is very simple. The dictator is not very interested in how his people live. His only objective is to assure his own security. And the way he assures his own security is by making sure he's able to have the weapons to fend off anyone who were to advance upon him or to pose a risk to his regime. So I have no doubt that that is exactly what Putin would do too, or is doing, is robbing his own people and developing his military.